Okay. So in the past, we've had some presentations, but I decided that we just do some activities so that you folks dive directly into your projects. And we do have some presentations from previous years, and they usually have a lot of resources about what you could use for your project, kind of how should I make my data available? How should I make my software better? So we have shared those. But for today, we will actually try to follow some checklists, and you will try to go through these checklists for your project. And the idea is that these projects are kind of small, so it's not like the complete research. So maybe a lot of when you go through the checklist, the answer will be no. And sometimes the answer is no because we're always in this state. I want to share this notion of technical debt. The reality is we're always rushing. We're rushing. We never have time. The hack week is short. The semester is short. The PhD is short. Like our whole careers are short. And we're always rushing, and we kind of do things sometimes that are actually slow us down kind of long term because we never look for a better solution. And we reject, like, oh, maybe you should do your code this way. It's like, no, I don't have time to fix my code. Like we're rushing. So my message is that hopefully you go back to your research, and some of these checklists you can also use for your research, and kind of slow down occasionally and look and try to reorganize things and make things better so that long term when you go back to your project, you can actually move faster later. And the way I've organized these checklists, I've shared the link in the Slack channel. So this is that template repository that I showed you earlier. I just added like 3 issues to that repository. And I split them into this data, software, and documentation. And they're not entirely, like separated because I think on one hand, there's the data, on the other hand, there's the software, and the documentation kind of talks to both of them to link how we actually use the data and the software to get some results. But it's just a way to kind of go through our project and answer some questions. And I try to make the questions a little bit simple, not like, some formal jargon, but it's like something you can just look through your code and answer the question. And maybe the answer is no, that is fine. The idea is to stir some discussion. It's like, oh, what could we do? Is there something I could do? What is the simplest thing I could do? You don't have to do something very complex. And each of these questions, like starts like, are the data publicly available? Where can I find them? Things like that. And as you go through them, you can maybe write with your teammates, what could we do, to make this repo organized nicely, and that later, maybe if we go back to this repository in 1 month after we take a break, we actually remember what we did, because that's usually the challenge, that it's not for the other people, it's for us, because we forget. So what can we do better? And each of these questions kind of underneath, if you click on these arrows, I kind of put like 1 or 2 suggestions from myself, but it doesn't need to be this one. This is just something to kind of like, maybe something that can help you, but you can come up with your own, maybe something relevant to your project. Yeah, so each of those has these, and then you can kind of go through the data, the software, and the documentation. And if you, as you discuss things, if you come up with other questions, you can actually add to these questions. Maybe we have even more questions for the future. And here are a few references, just I'll let you know that I just added them. As I said, in the past we've had presentations. You may find some useful resources there. This one is from Joseph Gum, and he had a lot of resources on storing data and sharing data, especially for oceanographers. So as you browse, you'll find a lot of things about where we can store the data, repositories, and things like that. And I also shared another presentation that we did for a conference on software best practices. It was like a few years back, and things changed, but this one was pretty basic and was trying to be a little bit language agnostic. So you can also find some things about software and what should we do to write better software. So these are for you as extra. But yeah, now maybe you folks can spend like 20 minutes on these kind of, just read through them and write down what you could do. You don't have to do it right now. It's more about writing a list. And how can you use this to actually write a list of things to do? One of the neat things that I just learned myself is that for each of these items, when you make an issue, you can there's some way to create an issue from these. Maybe okay. Yeah. Convert to sub issue. So from these lists, if you find something like this is really, we can do it tomorrow, right? Like this is doable. You know, some of them are not doable. You know, you can make an issue, and this will be an issue for some of you to work on. Oh, and the other thing is, you know, this is on this template repository, but you want to kind of map it to your repository. So the way to do it is really copy the, I don't think there's a formal way to do it, but if you, each issue is like just text, and you can click edit and just copy this text and make an issue in your repository. So you have like data, software, and documentation issue. And from then on, you could maybe convert some of these items to an actual issue that you can work on.
Mm-hmm. Can I show one thing about that top checkpoint, the reproducibility?
Yes, let me get out of this.
So this part here, like how to install and run the software. One thing that's really, you know, helpful for your future self or other people coming back to something is to know exactly what packages are needed and what versions. You can, like if you're working in Python, there's a way to like get it to export like your whole like lock file that shows you all the packages. Maybe somebody who knows how to do that off the top of their head can put that in the chat. But I want to show you an example for our project where we were trying to run some code from quite a few years ago. And we're able to, or Bruna was able to run it because the people who wrote it put in there exactly what package versions that we would need. And I'll show you what it looked like for us to be able to reproduce it. Like if they hadn't put this in there, there's no way we could have run it because it was like very specific. It doesn't let me. Oh, it's the opposite. Yeah, okay. So this here. So they told us exactly what versions. And so we were able to create an environment YAML file that specified those versions. And then we could create the environment using that. And just to show you a neat feature of the Jupyter Hub that we are using, and it's just something that you can do with something called repo to Docker. It'll take a repository on GitHub and create the Docker image for you, which can be handy, like in a lot of situations. And in our particular hub, if you, I don't know if I can get this. Hey, go away, go away. Okay, here. Oh, it's not going to let me log in. Okay, if you log into our hub and you drop down for the image and go all the way down, you'll see something that talks about Binder. If you click on that, it'll ask you for a repository. And if you were to give it our repository, it would look for this file and it will build an image using just those packages. So anyhow, I just want to be specific there because I think like sometimes when you like, oh, can you install the software? Like how much detail do you need to give somebody in the future? And that's the kind of detail, just exactly what package versions.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you have a question to answer for that in the list.
Oops.
And yeah, and the idea is once you do that activity, then we'll come back to get kind of like you reshare maybe what your team thought. And the idea is also if you decided you want to do something and you want to help with that procedure because you've never done this before, one of us can help you to do that. So I've added some links in these kind of drop down menus, but there's not so many. It's not so much space. We can explain more if you want to learn more about, okay, I want to figure out how to do that. We can help you out. All right.